2 episodes in, and I'm already feeling like it's getting better and better.
And the cast has been amazing.
The cast has definitely been amazing. I'm definitely going to talk about a couple of people in particular when we get to episode 2. But obviously, hello to everybody. Welcome back to Throne Zone. We are back for season 4 of Throne Zone, season 2 of House of the Dragon. I know it's confusing, but we started this show on season 7 of Game of Thrones. So the numbers are all over the place, but it doesn't really matter because um, what a comeback. House
Right
of the
out the gate.
Dragon. House of the Dragon did something that Game of Thrones never did, where the first episode of the new season picked up pretty much exactly where the last season ended. Like usually there's a couple of months in between seasons, at least, but this was pretty much right where we left off. So at the end of season 1, Jace fell to his death after a little
Oh,
dragon.
here.
Or did he? There is a rumor he landed in the sea and survived. Um, and it could be possible because they have made slight changes to whether characters live or die already, which we saw during the first season. But yeah, so we kicked off the first season with Rhaenyra not being able to really accept things until she's seen like physical evidence, which happens when, of course, parts of the dragon wash up on the beach. Um, so she's sort of not quite grieving yet, and everybody else around her is already preparing to retaliate. Particularly Daemon. Of
Daemon's
course.
bed ready. Daemon's bed ready.
I think Daemon just wakes up every morning ready for a fight.
He just chooses chaos.
Yes. Chaos follows him wherever he goes, but to be fair, he usually starts the chaos.
Hey, chaos is a ladder.
Indeed it is. So the first episode did something very unexpected for me. It kind of made me like Aegon a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was ever going to happen because he wasn't that much of a villain yet in the first season. He was still growing into that role, and then of course he was crowned, and he didn't even want to be king in the first place.
No.
But I heard he's going to develop into this really evil character, very much like Joffrey. But yeah, he was very sympathetic, or has been so far in this second season.
Well, if you think about it, he in the coronation episode, he even said to Alicent, his mother, he even said, "Father never wanted me to be king."
Mm.
Oh, you almost feel bad for him because it's like here's a guy who he knew his father never really loved him. Viserys's pride and joy was Rhaenyra, and it was known Rhaenyra was the choice, and he'd accepted that. He was fine with that.
Yeah, he just wanted to do typical teenager stuff: go out, drink, party, sleep around.
And father numerous illegitimate heirs.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't really have great contraception in. Uh,
No,
I was gonna say in those times, like it's a real place, in medieval sort of times.
no.
But we see like a hidden good-hearted side of him in the first episode, where he's hearing these proposals, and he's willing to show compassion. We'll send back the sheep, until Otto dials him back. And that's, I think, that scene is when you kind of realize maybe Aegon's not the true villain, but it's Otto.
Yeah.
Who's the puppeteer.
And then what I enjoyed was the scene with Prince Jacaerys, or no, not Jacaerys, Jaehaerys.
Yeah.
Him basically saying to Helene, he says, "Well, he's gonna be king. He needs to learn." And you have I think it was Jason Lannister. He's just kind of antagonizing him and and Jason's basically kind of like shushing him away, and Aegon just says, "Is the heir to the throne bothering you?"
Yeah, there was little Joffrey vibes there, because if God forbid it, Joffrey ever went on to have kids in Game of Thrones, you could probably see that side of him where he's relishing in his offspring tormenting other people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Kind of a shame, really, that we never really got to see more of Aegon and Jaehaerys, because obviously it all got wrapped up pretty quickly in the first episode. But before we
Yeah.
get to the end of the episode, you can't have a Game of Thrones show without some nudity, and of course, Alicent and Kristen. They basically spend all of their scenes together with no clothes on. Uh, and Alicent's not a dreamer like Bran or Helena, but I mean, she was doing the whole eyes rolling back thing in her very first scene in this season.
Yeah. And the very thing that she kind of gave Rhaenyra crap for, she's doing it.
Yeah. It's funny, really, because we have in the first season, Alicent was pretty political. She did everything she could to ensure that the throne went to Aegon. And then in 2 episodes, shit has hit the fan for the Greens, and she's more interested in receiving some pleasure from Sir Criston Cole. That's all she
Yeah.
seems to be interested in.
Yeah. And saying, oh, we can never do this again. Oh, okay. We'll do it again.
It's very much like Rock and Cena, once in a lifetime, and until the next time.
Yeah. And we almost got it a third time this past Mania.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, let's not. But props to Christian. I forget his second name, but Fabian, the actor who plays him. He's, we say in wrestling all the time, that a heel is doing their job right when they are getting so much heat from the fans. And Fabian has had to limit his comments on Instagram because he's received so much backlash for the actions of his character in a TV show about dragons.
It's a fake. He's an actor. Like people, this isn't real life. Like Fabian Frankel isn't like this. Like he's a normal guy. Like just give it up. Like, and the problem is like he's receiving threats online. It's like, do you do this to other actors? Like, you're giving him shit, but Matt Smith, he's getting a pass?
Yeah, Matt Smith received nothing for basically being responsible for a child being beheaded.
Yeah, but oh no. And not to mention last season, look at all the crap that Damon got away with.
Yeah, but we love Damon because we love Matt Smith. And it's almost like Damon can do as much despicable shit as he wants. People will still love him. He is very much a lovable rebel. And
He's like that parent, it's like the favorite child that can do no wrong.
Yeah. I did admit I was smirking a little bit in that small council meeting where the Blacks were discussing what happened to Jaehaerys at the end of the first episode, and Damon's just sitting quietly at the table, obviously knowing he's responsible for it, and no words needed to be said. It was just a look from Rhaenys that was like, I know you're the one that did it. And he's like,
What?
Well, what do you want me to say? And then finally the penny drops away with Rhaenyra, and she goes off the handle on him, which I think all husbands can relate to. That particular scene. But to be fair, he did do something wrong.
Yeah.
His original plot made sense. He hired a couple of assassins to go after Aemond, who was directly responsible for what happened to Jaehaerys. But we never actually saw him confirm a plan B. Like, he was discussing it with Cheese, and I think Cheese is the one who asked, what do we do if we can't find Aemond? And then it just cuts to a different scene. So we don't know if he said just any son will do, basically. Because that's kind of the vibe you got from them when they got to the bedroom. Obviously, they couldn't find Daemon, but they did find the twins, and they were kind of like, "Well, we have to kill somebody. May as well be this one."
And I will give them credit because in the book, Fire and Blood, it's a lot more graphic. So in the book, they're actually in Alicent's bedroom, and they have her tied up, and they make Helena choose which child.
Are they both boys in the book? Did I read?
So there's 3 kids, which I think there were 3. There was the twins, Prince Jaehaerys and Princess Jaehaera, and then there was Prince Maelor, and the Hope, or Helena, chose Maelor, thinking, oh well, he'll just leave Jaehaerys alone. No, they knew it was Jaehaerys, and they chose him.
See, I haven't read the book, but I did kind of hear something about Blood and Cheese before the season, and I knew they were going to do something really controversial. First of all, didn't expect it in the first episode. That's how you end the first episode of a new season. Make sure people are coming back. Like, holy, they beheaded a 7-year-old.
Only in Thrones. Only in the Game of Thrones universe.
But the scene was very, very intense, obviously. I did see some people complain like it was a little bit tame for Game of Thrones, and it's just like, what do you want? Do you actually want to see them behead a child on camera?
Yeah, a little kid. You want to see that? But you gotta realize they would get canceled.
Yeah, Game of Thrones has done a lot of fucked up shit, but that's not one of them.
Don't forget the most controversial scene. They kicked a dog.
Oh yeah, they kicked the dog too. They got a lot of heat for that. I actually saw one meme where it was like, a kid gets beheaded, no reaction. A dog gets kicked. You motherfucker.
Yeah.
Call the banners. But all respect in the world to Phia Saban for that scene, because it was all focused on her and her reactions, and I think like we saw a quick close-up of Jaehaerys' face before the actual deed was done, and we heard the deed being done, but all of the attention was on her reaction and her selling, and she killed that scene.
Oh, absolutely. She was incredible this whole season so far.
I heard actually that her and Tom, who plays Aegon, petitioned for those two to have more scenes in this season.
They wanted more.
I mean, if the first 2 episodes are anything to go by, they need more, because I think the 2 of them are the most compelling characters so far.
Yeah.
I mean, Emma Darcy's been incredible already as Rhaenyra again, but I really am more interested in Aegon and Helena at this point.
Yeah, and they make the Greens sympathetic, which I didn't think that'd be happening.
No, I mean, we went into the season thinking it's going to be all Team Black. They're the good guys. Team Green are the bad guys. I think it was Rhys Ifans who was interviewed, asking who he really supports, like in real life, and he just said, look, basically both sides are full of psychotic war criminals, so let's just enjoy seeing how they all die, which is a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
And he,
right.
My God, he was phenomenal in that second episode. The scene where Otto confronts Aegon, Rhys Ifans is absolutely electric.
Absolutely. Like, you see, like, you get almost Tywin Lannister vibes, where he's kind of trying to control his grandson. There's a whole scene where he's criticizing Aegon, and Kristen Cole basically says, watch your tongue, in front of the king.
Yeah.
And he says, the king is my grandson.
And my grandson is a fool. And that line has been living rent free in my head all week because it's such a great line. And the moment I heard it, I thought that's such a Tywin Lannister line.
Oh, it
That's
is.
exactly something he would say.
Because I mean, there was even you see he and Alicent trying to mold Aegon and kind of keep him from going off the rails, and he can especially in the second episode, you can see he knows it's slipping away and he's losing control.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, losing Jaehaerys has really flipped a switch in Aegon. Whereas in episode one, he was kind of just fooling around. He was um, not indifferent, but not really affected by the idea of going to war. He was kind of looking forward to it just for like shits and giggles.
Yeah,
Um, and then, of course, what happened with Blood and Cheese, he lost his son in a brutal way, and immediately he just wants blood. The pure rage he showed in the second episode, um, Tom Glynn-Carney performed it amazingly.
he destroyed his father's Lego set.
Oh, the Lego set. He spent like what 20, 30 years building that thing.
And I love the meme of Viserys looking down, and even Paddy Considine has referenced it.
Yes.
He referenced it on Instagram, and he's like, basically, he says, that took me forever, you little shit.
He built that thing to his deathbed. Um, but you know what? It's still a travesty that Paddy Considine didn't get nominated for any awards for the first season. But Tom, Rhys, Thea, Emma, they all need nominations this season already, and we're only two episodes in. Um,
Absolutely.
so what we've seen, my take from the first two episodes is the difference between the two sides in grief. So the blacks in the first episode reacted with emotion. Rhaenyra went looking for Jace's body. Daemon hired assassins. And the greens reacted with politics to
Yeah,
Jaehaerys, because although Aegon wants blood, the High Towers saw it as an opportunity to gain allies.
exactly. And also, there's we got to mention the scene where in Winterfell, where Prince Jacaerys finds out that his brother's been killed, and then there's the scene where he returns to Dragonstone. He sees his mother, who's kind of despondent, but with Prince Aegon and Prince Viserys, basically, and he's telling her what happened, and you see them just break, and you have that moment of raw emotion, and then you have the second episode with Alicent. Basically, her daughter is grieving the loss of her son, which happened right in front of her, and she's basically, no, you got to be there. You got to be seen. We got to parade you right in front of people.
And like Alicent didn't want to do it either, but like she knew she kind of had to. And of course, again, it was Otto's idea. Like, you need to have a funeral. You need to put his body on display. You need people to see what the blacks have done. You need to gain sympathy, basically. And so we didn't see Jaehaerys actually being killed physically on screen, but we did get a close-up of his body, and of course they stitched his head back on, which was not, even though it was like a 2-second scene, I wasn't expecting that either. Because again, you don't show dead kids on TV.
No.
Unless it's a burnt farmer's kid posing as the Stark boys that we saw in Game of Thrones. Or a White Walker child. You know.
I mean, but that's okay because they're already dead.
Yeah. Doesn't really count. You can't really see the actors' faces or anything. So yeah, the funeral was pretty hard. I did think for a second when people started swamping the funeral car, I guess you could say, that something was going to happen, like they were going to tip the body over or something, and it was going to be more traumatic than it actually was. But I mean, it was still obviously traumatic for Helena, and I think the first two episodes it kind of reminded us that she's still a child herself, because obviously what happened with Jaehaerys, and her immediate instinct was to run to her mother's bedroom.
Yeah.
She just wasn't expecting her mother to be doing the deed at the time with the very knight who's supposed to be protecting them.
Yeah, and we have this scene where they ask Sir Kristen Cole, like, where were you? I was occupied.
I think this is what he's got the most. Fabian has got the most backlash from in Kristen's role. The fact that he was supposed to be on guard, and he shifted the blame to Sir Arryk. And whether it was intentional or not, but he sent Arryk to his death pretty much for it.
Oh yeah, and he knew. He absolutely knew.
I mean, it very much was a suicide mission. On paper, it does sound like a good idea. You go over there, you pretend to be your twin brother, you kill the queen.
And
who's going to suspect anything? On paper, it's a great idea. And Aegon thought it was a great idea. Just this pure sass to Otto saying he's going to sneak in and pretend to be his brother. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's done. And that whole scene where, I mean, Otto knew it wasn't going to work. He knew. And he basically, he tells Otto, he says, Sir Kristen's acted. And Otto basically says, what did you do?
Yeah, you kind of get the sense that Otto thinks very little of Kristen and kind of thinks he's an idiot. Whether he's actually aware of what's going on with Kristen, because he does know that Alicent's been doing stuff she shouldn't be doing because she said, I've sinned, and he said, I don't want to hear about it. But yeah, Otto definitely thinks that Kristen's a bit... I keep calling Christian. Kristen's a bit of an idiot. And like you said, when Aegon said he's acted, and then he tells him his plan, and Otto just went, oh, God's help us. So yeah, he knew it was a stupid idea.
Yeah, he knew it wasn't going.
And of course, it got us our first big duel of the season, which I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to see more of the Tittenser twins as Arryk and Erryk. So I'm a little disappointed that we lost them both in episode 2 because, like, I've known these two since they were teenagers. They're very well known from British soap operas and the original Shameless. So it was nice to see them back on screen in the first season, and then of course we lost them in another brother versus brother duel in episode 2.
And just absolutely tragic, like, and then to simplify it, Erryk with an A, loyal to the Greens, Erryk with an E, loyal to the Blacks, which was it Erryk with an E that ended up technically winning, even though
Yeah, he killed his brother and then he fell on his own sword.
Because he couldn't face
deliberately.
what he'd done.
Yeah, here's how I remember the difference between Arryk and Erryk. So, Arryk with an A is Team Alicent's, and Erryk with an E is the other team, whose queen is played by Emma, who begins with an E. So it's A and A, E and E.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a way to get around it. So again, I haven't read the source material, so I also kind of forgot that this duel was mentioned in Game of Thrones a couple of times. So here's me watching this scene, hoping maybe Erryk will, talk him into joining the Blacks. But no, they both died.
In front of Rhaenyra.
Yeah, and I've seen people like, and we're supposed to believe she's this queen is going to lead us into war, and like. She almost got assassinated in her own bedchamber, and then she had to watch him fight his own brother. How do you expect her to react? It's a very small space too.
Yeah, like and if you remember, before Erryk, killed himself, she tried to tell him not to. Like, you hear her say, "Erryk, no."
Yeah.
And she didn't call him Sir Erryk. She called him Erryk.
Yeah, and it was probably confusing for her, but it was confusing for us as well because we kind of lost track of who was who. Even when Arryk removed his helmet and was walking through the castle, I lost track of who was who because they kept cutting in between the two brothers, and I'm like, okay, I don't know which twin this is now. And then during the duel, I had no chance of keeping track, except one got sliced in the leg pretty early on. I think that was Erryk.
Yeah.
So yeah, in 2 episodes, we've already had some pretty major deaths with Jaehaerys, and Arryk and Erryk. Not quite sure what's coming in the next episode. We know Daemon's on his way to Harrenhal,
Oh yeah.
which
The first Harrenhal.
I don't know what to expect from that, but I believe shit again is about to hit the fan.
Oh yeah.
I think it's like episode 5 is actually called Dance of Dragons. So
Oh,
I think we've still got 1 or 2 episodes before it really comes to blows.
because right now the band is keying up. They're starting to play. The band's really gonna start playing in probably another couple episodes.
Yeah.
The pieces on the chessboard. First moves are being made.
And one thing that is probably going to come into play, obviously, is that Aegon has demoted his grandfather, Otto Hightower, who is no longer Hand of the King. The pin is now on Sir Criston Cole, who Aegon is completely oblivious to the fact is sleeping with his mother.
And Otto, even Sir Criston Cole doesn't want it. Like, he kind of looked at like, I don't want this.
I'm a knight. I'm not a politician.
And Otto just chucks the pin at him. Basically, he even said, "Hand it to Sir Criston Cole." And I was just like, "Yeah, no," just chucks it at him. And we got reference of Prince Daeron Targaryen, the yet unseen youngest son of King Viserys.
Yes. I think there's a few characters that we're going to see this season that we haven't seen yet, including dragons. We still haven't seen a glimpse of Cannibal, who is the biggest living dragon roaming free on Dragonstone somewhere, which kind of gives you an idea of how big Dragonstone actually is.
Oh yeah. And then there's Sheep Stealer.
Yeah. Great name.
Referenced him this season.
Yeah, that is a great name for a dragon.
Simple, but it says it.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, there's 3 wild dragons on Dragonstone: Sheep Stealer, Cannibal.
So there's Vermithor, who was the dragon of King Jaehaerys. There's Sea Smoke, Sea Smoke was Laenor's. He's on Driftmark. Then there's Queen Alicent, there's Jaehaerys' wife. Her dragon's there on Dragonstone. There's like 5 or 6 dragons on Dragonstone that don't have riders.
Right. And hopefully we get to see them this season.
We should.
All right, so we finally got this chance to review the first 2 episodes. We got episode 3 coming up now. One thing we've always done at the end of every episode of Throne Zone is play the audio of the preview for the next episode, but HBO have decided they're not doing that this season, so we are just as in the dark as you all are. Well, except for DC, because he's read the source material.
And they've changed it already. They've altered it. I'm here for it.
I think it's been received in the same way as The Last of Us. They stayed pretty loyal to the game, but then they've drifted to either extend certain bits or change a couple of bits up, mostly for the better. I think it's improved the story. So obviously I got no comparison for House of the Dragon and Fire and Blood, so I don't know if it's improving the story that they've made certain small changes, or if it's just different.
They've improved it, because in the source material, Viserys is a minor character. Like, he's a couple pages,
and he had pretty much the best performance in the first season. So yeah, that's definitely an improvement. Part of me is kind of hoping maybe we get a couple of flashbacks just so that we see the greatness of Paddy Considine again, but I think he's all done now. Very much like Sean Bean in the first season of Game of Thrones. We don't get to see him again. He just came in, was a icon, and then left.
Did what Sean Bean does and dies in almost every role.
Yes. And somehow it was still shocking.
Even though we really should know better by now.
Yeah, I mean we do know now with the Game of Thrones universe, you don't get attached to anybody. Nobody is safe.
Don't have a favorite character.
No, unless of course you finish with the source material and then you're just making shit up on the spot and you stop killing fan favorites. That's kind of what happened with the last couple of seasons of Game of Thrones.
Can we just say thank God Dan and Dave are not attached to this project at all?
Apparently their new Netflix show is supposed to be pretty good, and they've got quite a few people from Game of Thrones on it, but obviously I haven't given it a chance because it's those two. So I can't comment on how good that is, but I think that's the only thing they've done since Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I think they realized they messed up.
Yeah, because I maintain that they were trying to wrap things up as quickly as they could so that they could move on to this Star Wars project that they were attached to, and then they got dropped from that.
Yeah, because I think even Disney's like, yeah, no, we can't be attached to this.
And that's coming from us, and we did Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
That's
we
how
did
bad.
Last Jedi, so...
I'm still in the minority. I kind of like The Last Jedi. I'll do a Sir Arryk and die on my sword on that one.
See, I'm the same with Rise of Skywalker. I didn't hate it.
Oh no, that is the only Star Wars movie I've never watched twice.
See, to me, that was, Phantom Menace. I can't do
And I
it.
always prefer Phantom Menace over Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, I like to pretend that movie never happened.
Actually, Phantom Menace is the only Star Wars movie that I've watched in a cinema, like 25 years apart. I watched it on the original release, and I just watched it for its anniversary.
Oh, nice. I've seen all the prequels in the theaters, and the new trilogy, but I missed the original trilogy by a couple decades.
Yes. Well, fortunately, I was like 7 when they released the special edition trilogy, and they released it in cinemas, of course. So that was kind of my introduction to Star Wars. But to divert back to this kind of stuff with Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, if a week is too long for you to wait, I can highly recommend The Last Kingdom on Netflix. It's the closest thing I've come across to Game of Thrones. There's no dragons or anything like that. There's no witchcraft or anything like that in it. It's purely Vikings and Saxons beating the shit out of each other. And it's so good.
And what more could you want?
Yeah. Just blood, sword, and religion. There you go. So I've just finished the final season of that, which I was actually about 2 years late finishing, and I've now got the movie which they produced to finish off the series to look forward to, which is already out. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I think there was a rumor at one time that they were going to do a Game of Thrones movie to finish it off before they actually wrapped up the series.
They had talked about it, but Dan and Dave were like, "Yeah, we don't need it."
Yeah, we don't even need 10 episodes for the final season. Just give us 6.
Yeah. But you want 8? No, we can do 6.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think that's one of the most infuriating parts of Game of Thrones, that HBO were willing to give them more episodes and more time to flesh out this story, but no, they just wanted to rush it.
Yeah. And it shows.
Yes. And even though the pace is very fast on House of the Dragon, I think it's playing out very nicely. It doesn't feel rushed, even though we seem to be getting major events in every episode.
To quote Emilia Clarke in referring to the last season of Game of Thrones, best season ever.
Except this time we're not being sarcastic.
No, it's like each episode is more wild than others, and strap in because the Dance of Dragons is going.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what Damon does next because he is just very much like he was when he played the Doctor. He's just a madman, except without the box this time.
And you know what? We're gonna forgive him.
Like we always do, because he's Matt Smith.
And we can't hold Matt Smith accountable. Yeah.
No, Matt Smith is a treasure. In fact, everybody attached to House of the Dragon is a treasure. Emma Darcy's great. Rhys Ifans is great. I'm very much warming up to Tom Glynn-Carney and Phia Saban. They're great. Like I said,
You and Mitchell.
Yes. There's actually a few like background actors that I've recognized from one thing or another in the UK. So it's nice to see them all coming together. Like Game of Thrones had such a great cast of British talent that all came from all these different things that I've seen before. And it's just like, oh, I've seen him in this, I've seen him in this, I've seen him in that. And they're all in this one universe, and it's great.
And it's only better.
Yeah, and now we're seeing the next generation with Tom and Phia. And actually, Phia Saban was in The Last Kingdom, which I didn't realize, obviously, until House of the Dragon. And I just went back and watched the final season. And I'm like, she looks very much like Helena. And it is. It was actually her first TV role. And that's, I think, kind of how she got the House of the Dragon role.
And she's been killing it.
Yeah, so we want to see more of Aegon. We want to see more of Helena. Maybe a little less dippy dunky with Kristen and Alicent.
Yeah, we could dial it down.
Just 2 episodes and all they're doing is fucking.
Like you got a kingdom to help run, Sir Kristen.
She looks exhausted too. Like, how much are they actually doing it?
Yeah, like, give the girl a break, dude.
You're literally on the brink of war. Chill out a little bit.
Like, dude, do your job.
You got even more responsibilities now as Hand of the King. So I'm interested to see
right now.
How long is this gonna last before Aegon's like he cannot do his job.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
reasoned with at this point.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the moment where Aegon kind of finds out what's going on with Alicent and Kristen Cole, and I can only imagine it's not going to be a good reaction because, again, since Jaehaerys was killed, we've kind of seen that more psychotic side of him flip.
And you know, Ewan Mitchell has been incredible. Like, even he's like sounds like the sweetest guy. And he's like, it wasn't Aemon's fault. He needs somebody to love him.
Yeah, I kind of could have done without the scene of him completely naked, just curled up. I mean, it does show his vulnerable side, but
it was creepy.
Yeah, it was a little hard on the eyes.
Like, no, like, and we're gonna see his love affair with Daemon Targaryen.
Yeah, again, creepy nephew uncle infatuation.
But okay,
this is House of the Dragon. It's fire, blood, and incest.
Hey, it's the Targaryen way.
That should definitely be their house words. Incest.
Fire, blood,
it's the Targaryen way.
Targaryen way. Oh yeah. And I think he's going to further descend into madness, in the episodes to come.
Yeah. Which hopefully we will keep up with regularly this season. So thank you for joining us for this first episode as we recap the first 2 episodes of House of the Dragon. Of course, you can find me in the meantime on Max Wrestling. We do have an event coming this Thursday called Money Shot. Check that out. And if you're watching on this channel, obviously you know it's the Max Wrestling channel. Because why would we try and build up 2 channels when we've already got content on this one? And speaking of wrestling, you can of course also find DC with kicking it with the TSK, which I think there's a Forbidden Door show coming up.
There is. I believe we are recording tonight after the show. The good, the bad, what works. Should be an interesting show. Are we going to get some surprises? Are the rumors of Shane McMahon going to be true?
I mean, that would be crazy.
Talk about Forbidden Door.
I think that would be the epitome of Forbidden Door. The Air McMahon walking into AEW.
It could happen.
Stranger things have happened. So for now, I can't wait to see what happens tonight on House of the Dragon. I'll probably be watching it tomorrow night. And I can't wait to talk about it and see what everybody else thinks. So we will see you next time. And remember, the internet is dark and full of spoilers.